child star to political activist to film director. By the time she was 8 years old, Sarah Polley was a Canadian star. Who could forget Road to Avonlea?
She confided in me. It was love at first sight.
By 12, she was reportedly blacklisted by Disney. Why? Well, for wearing a peace symbol to a White House dinner during the First Gulf War. After escaping child stardom, Polley quit acting in high school to become an activist, speaking at rallies, getting 2 teeth knocked out by riot police at a protest. Then at the age of 17, she returned to acting, and she starred in Adam Agoyan's critically acclaimed picture, The Sweet Hereafter. That got her a Genie nomination for Best Actress. After that, she walked out on the role that made Kate Hudson almost famous, and instead opted for films like Go, No Such Thing, Dawn of the Dead, Beowulf and Grendel, and her latest film is called Away From Her.
Action!
Away From Her is her directorial debut. It's a story about an elderly couple torn apart by Alzheimer's, and it opens in Toronto and Vancouver on May the 4th. Here's a clip.
Bill, I'm your husband. Fiona, it's grand. We've been married for 45 years. Look at me, Fiona. That is not your sweater. We've had a good life together. Those are your words, Fiona, not mine. That is not your sweater.
Yes, it's a heavy scene, and now I introduce you to Sarah Polley, everybody. How are you, lady? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
What's going on? So you've got this big movie that's opening.
Yes.
Are you excited about it?
I'm very excited about it. Yes.
Yeah?
It's a small movie, and so it's really exciting that it's actually going to have a bit of life and actually be released in more than one theater in downtown Toronto. So I'm thrilled with that.
When you go into making a picture, do you have an idea of where it's going to go? Did you know that this was going to kind of have those sort of legs, or do you have to wait till the film's done?
No, I mean, I've been involved in Canadian film for my whole life, so you accept that the natural trajectory of a Canadian film is you are for 1 week at one theater in Toronto.
And then at 2 really cool video stores in Vancouver,
exactly.
and that's it.
Yeah. So it's completely a surprise and a great bonus and absolutely thrilling that it's actually going to kind of get out there and be given a shot. So.
But a lot of people who make those sorts of films kind of have to. You don't really have to. You make a conscious decision that this is the kind of movie you want to make in Canada. These are your choices.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it was the most ideal environment to make a film in as a filmmaker and also as an actor. I mean, there's so much more creative control in this country. And the less money you have, the more creative control you have. So for me, it's the perfect environment to make films in.
I mean, I really like this movie. It was there were times, because it's set in the winter, where it was just a bummer, and Gordon Pinsent looked so depressed.
Well, you should be our marketing executive. This is like really fine work you're doing.
This movie will bum you out, but it will totally motivate you. No, but what it did was it showed a tenderness and a sexuality in a relationship in the over 50 crowd you don't see, and I think for a lot of people who aren't at that age can look at it and maybe see some of their parents in there, or people who are older can see some of their kids in there. It was just a really neat relationship. Why make this one?
Well, I think, for that reason, I mean, I was at the beginning of a relationship when I first read this short story, and for me it was the most complex and interesting and difficult love story I'd ever read, and certainly the one that's moved me the most in my life. And it was very interesting for me to look at a relationship after 44 years when I was at the very beginning of one. So for me it was it's very much a love story more than anything else. So
I kind of chuckle when I read about I don't really chuckle, I laugh when I read about people saying Sarah Polley made a decision to stay in Canada, which, as if that's a political statement in and of itself. Did it feel like that to you?
At times it has, and at other times I've had to admit to myself that actually this is just the best life for me. I mean, I'm really passionate about Canadian films. I love living here. I love living in Toronto, and it would be a big sacrifice for me to move somewhere else. So I find it funny when sometimes people talk about it as though it's this big sacrifice I've made out of integrity to stay where I happen to love living around my friends and family and work on things I really like working on. It's like, yeah, and I guess you could sort of take up that mantle and be really obnoxious about it. Maybe I'll do that. Don't you think that's great that I'm doing that for you, George?
Amazing. Amazing. You're not doing that for me.
Pretty obnoxious. Yeah.
No, but you still do stuff. You could dabble as much as you want, I guess, elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been lucky that way, that I've been able to work with filmmakers on both sides of the border that I really admire. So
You know, much has been made about the English-Canada model and how the English-Canada model is ineffective, certainly compared to the French-Canadian model and the American model, even the British model to an extent. Is there something wrong with the English-Canadian model, or is this just who we are as in terms of the entertainment and the star system?
I feel like I could talk about that for 3 hours, and I think I will.
How long do you have, Kevin? Kevin, how long do you have? Like a minute? Or give me 30 seconds.
I'm going to try to give you 30 seconds. I think English-Canadian independent films don't actually do that badly compared to independent English films and independent American films. Like, we're comparing ourselves to giant commercial films with $100 million marketing budgets. We're never going to compete with that. So there's a lot of work for us to do because Canadians right now do not have access to their own films, and that's a very big problem. We're not hearing about them. We're not seeing about them on TV. We're not able to access them in our theaters. So that's a huge problem, and it needs to get addressed on a myriad of levels.
Come back again, and we'll talk about that
Okay,
exclusively.
no, I'm going to keep going.
We'll do it in the commercial break. Sarah Polley, everybody. The Hour will be right back.